Hi friends, Max Alash here. On this episode of the Corpus Animus podcast, we interview 9-time Games athlete Alessandra Pichelli. Before we get into it, make sure you hit that subscribe button because we're on our road to 35K subscribers. And when we hit that milestone, we're going to give away a Black Zinc Rogue 2.0 barbell. Leave a comment below telling us what your favorite part of this podcast was. That comment is what's going to enter you into the giveaway. Once we reach that 35,000 subscriber milestone, we'll use a random YouTube comment generator on one of these videos where we promoted the giveaway to draw a worldwide winner for that bar. So all you got to do is be subscribed and comment below to enter. Train along some of the best athletes in the world at the sport of CrossFit. To get a free sample week of our current training cycle, head over to trainingthinktank.com/DSGN. All right, fine. How many Games appearances?
Okay, so not including team, I want to say, 7, and then 1 year of team, so total 8. And then, last year, just with the qualification, like I was originally qualified and then they made the cut, so if it wasn't for
So that still would be a Games appearance, right? Because it was stage 1 Games, stage 2, or the cuts happened.
The cuts happen, like I qualified through Italy. And then I was going to do the West Coast Classic, and then they cut that too. Cause usually I wasn't taking the Open as seriously.
Yeah.
And so I thought, do that. And then I do West Coast to get ready for competition, and then it was just over after that.
That's kind of suck. I mean, I know it's COVID, but you qualified for the Games with the rules that they set out by being a national champion, and you didn't have to do like repeats and all that stuff to do that. But had you known that you would have had to have been in the top 30, you would have approached it differently to get into the top 30.
So I would have done it differently. Like I tried hard, but I didn't do any redos, and I was trying to really prioritize training for the Games, because I'm like, that would be such an advantage. And then I mean, it happened to a lot of people, a lot of athletes, they had the same thing. So
how'd you deal with that?
I think at first it was kind of depressing, I'm sure, for everybody. And then in California, all the lockdowns and stuff like that. So being stuck in the apartment at first, I was like, maybe something will change, and I just tried to keep up the training best as I could in my apartment. And then after that, just because, so the thing is, I had originally thought that last year would be my last year. So that was the plan. And then to have that happen, just kind of, you didn't
want the story to end there.
Yeah. I think just because you always imagine this great finish, and it won't always happen, but I kind of wanted to finish the way I wanted to finish. And then I took some time to think like, is it worth doing? And just like, I don't want to spend the rest of my life being like, I was supposed to do one more year. And then like, I just didn't get the opportunity. So I just want to kind of finish on my own terms, and who knows, maybe this year will, won't be as good, but I feel like I'm actually putting more mental energy into trying to, finish the best that I can.
So that's the end of the story. We're working on that right now. If we fast forward to the beginning, I want to know like what got you into CrossFit, but also before that, what did you do as an athlete that preceded it? Because I think we're training on site. Mal is here. Yeah. She's growing up as a CrossFitter. Whereas
she's 16 or 17.
One of the two. I know she's still doing the team division as a backup, even though she probably doesn't need it based on her current skill set.
You say teen or team?
Yeah, teen. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So she's 16 or 17, one of them.
Yeah.
But for the generation of CrossFitters that are in their 30s, it was all like a previous athletic background that set you up to do well in CrossFit. So what was yours?
Oh, for sure. So, I was thinking about that today because James asked, like, what were you doing at 17? And I was like, I was eating ice cream. I mean, when I really when I really think back, like I like to do sports. Like I started off, I was a competitive dancer. I did like everything from point, tap, jazz, ballet. Like we performed at Disney. Is it Disney World in Florida?
Yeah,
like
Disney World
on the stage there. Like
scoot up just a little bit.
I did like all competitions and stuff. So like it was just world of dance. And then at the same time, I did competitive basketball. Like I did like basketball camps, but it was always more, I just did it for fun, and I didn't really take myself serious. I wasn't like strength training, like, it was just like, I would in the same, like, maybe I wouldn't even count that track. I did it in like high school, and so that I
But
feel
just like a participating in the
just
sport.
literally.
What was your
participating.
favorite of those three? Track, basketball, dance.
I think dance. Like I feel like I don't know. It's just a lot of fun.
Are you
like,
going to host a dance class on
Oh,
Sunday?
yeah.
Should we get a
We
training thing
definitely
take
should.
TikTok?
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Don't tell anyone, then Noah will come in with music. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so shy. But yeah, that's like always been a lot of fun because I'm such an introvert. But then like when I dance, I like love to perform. And I think that kind of carried on to CrossFit. Like that's why I do it. I just love like competing and performing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's basically all I did. I didn't have like it was mostly rowing. So then I did rowing I must have started like grade 6 because in Canada, where I'm from, it's a canal town called Welland. And so it's like probably the flattest course in all of Canada. So like the national team comes to train there. So it was kind of just like a feeder school for scholarships and that kind of thing. So
Crazy.
So I just like got it. Like, it's like, if you live there, you most likely
You get a head start.
You get a head start and
Yeah.
you just got to train with like the best, and there's summer camps, you're always on the water. So that's that became my main sport, like after dance. And I just did that all through high school. And then like everyone I rode with got a scholarship somewhere in the US. And then I decided to I was like, California, who wouldn't want to go to California? Because most of my friends were going to East Coast schools close to home. And I was like, screw it, I'm going to California. Yeah. So that's basically my background. But like to see that the generation's becoming younger and younger is pretty impressive because like I always thought, when I started, I'm like, wow, if I started this when I was younger, like I could have made so much progress, but then, at the same time, I'm like happy with what I did, that I didn't, take it too seriously, or I just like had fun with it. Cause you got to wonder how, if you start that young, we haven't seen yet, like, are they going to be able to sustain it that long? Cause like, even for my career, I've definitely had times where less motivation. So I'm like, I don't know. That would be impressive if they can keep that motivation up for like close to 10 years. But we'll see.
I mean, some of them will be in their early 20s and already be 10 years in. Jake started at 12 or 13 and he's 25.
Oh
and
my
I'm
gosh.
like, man, you've been doing CrossFit for longer than the like current best in the world.
Yeah.
And you still have 5-10 years of competitive mileage to put on your body.
Yeah. I always joke, but I shouldn't be like, I'm the old lady. I was like, when I was your age, I was doing, and I'm just like, okay, I'm not that old, but like when girls are starting like so young, it makes you feel, I'm like, I'm half their age, but I guess that's like motivation in itself for me, is that I don't really look at age. And my motivation is I'm like, well, I have many grandparents and relatives who've lived over 100. So like my genetics are, I don't know, for me, it may not be true, but as long as they believe it.
Yeah. It's a good story to tell. So you went to college in California? Yeah.
So I got a rowing scholarship to St. Mary's. It's near Cal in Northern California.
That's where you met Akeem.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So he was recruited as a tennis player.
Cool.
And we were in like the international program. They try to integrate people.
I feel like Canada and Germany, like
you're not international.
It's kind of the same place.
I know, that's how I felt. We had to do like I didn't get to take the English one with like the normal Americans. And like most of the people couldn't speak English, and I was like, I remember being so mad, like, why am I in this class, And then of course like Akeem gets like top marks in the class, and English is his second language. So I was like, I hate you.
He did better than you.
Yeah, he did better than me. He's like, see, you need to be in this class. I was like, shut up.
That's how it all started.
Yeah, that's how it all started. Yeah, basically.
So, and then where'd you find CrossFit in that time?
So,
post-collegiate?
Post-collegiate. So I'd finished rowing, was totally burnt out. I was like, I never want to touch a erg or rowing machine again. I was like, I hate you. I hate it,
And then you did acid bath today.
I did acid bath today. Like, what's my life become? But yeah, so it was probably a year of me not doing anything. And then I felt like I was just like gaining weight. And then eventually I was like, I need to do something. Like, I'm going to be obese if I don't like start working out. So it was actually my rowing coach. She recommended, she's like, there's this thing called CrossFit. You'd be really good at it. And I was like, I don't know. And then, so then I decided to go to a local gym, and then we were like, okay, this is kind of.
Before you went to the local gym, did you Google it?
I Googled it, and then they were doing like, you read about all the short, what do they call it? The girls workouts.
Yeah.
And then I was so used to doing, if I went to the gym, I'd be like hour on the elliptical, hour on the treadmill, like just like, and I'd be like, they only do like these short workouts. So stupid, and then I was like, fine, but we'll give it a chance. And then
What year was this?
That must have been like 2010, I want to say, or 2011 or something.
And so when you Googled it, your first impression was dumb.
Yeah, I was like, stupid.
Dumb.
Yeah.
10 years later.
Yeah. So then then of course, I feel like everyone who starts, they do like crazy hero WODs that are like over 45 minutes. So that was like my first half year. That's all I did. And then I remember I was at one gym and I had a friend, her boyfriend at the time, now husband, he was at Diablo CrossFit, more competitive gym. And they were competing on the team, and they had done team quite a few years, and they basically scouted me according to them. They were like, you should come be on our team. Like, and I was like, no, I'm done with competition. I'm like, I'm not doing it. And it like probably took like a month or more of convincing. And then finally one day he's like, all right, just come out to our comp class. And then that, I think it was that year. And then I had made their team.
Was Kyle on that team? Kyle Z?
No, at the time it was, he wasn't there. Yeah, he wasn't there yet. He was still young. So then that was the year we went to the game. We got third at the games, and that kind of started. And then the next year, they were like, "You're not allowed to be on the team." I was like, "What?" Yeah, and they're like, "No, you have to go individual." I was like, "No, I don't want to." And then I like just started training, and then it kind of went from there.
Why weren't you allowed to be on the team?
Because you were too good.
Yeah, they told me I'm too good to be on the team, and that I need to compete as an individual.
Sure.
Yeah, and I was in my mind, I was like, "Hell no, I'm not too," And then they're like, "Just see how it goes, do the open," and then. Yeah. And then kind of went from there. And now that I look back, I was like, how did this happen? I don't know. Like, I just, like after college, I had set goals to, I don't know what, I thought I was going to go to, I got into physical therapy school. I was going to go to USC, and then, just
the CrossFit, it changed the course of your life.
Yeah, it completely changed. Yeah. It's just, so that's kind of that's my story, and I'm still figuring it out. Yeah.
So you went, you took third on a team, and then what was your first experience as an individual like in the games in terms of contrasting? Did you like it more? Did you not like it as much?
I kind of really enjoyed it because nobody knew who I was, and like no expectations of myself, and I kind of just was like, I was having fun, and and that was the year I tied for third, and then lost the tiebreaker, so got fourth. So like, considering like that was my best year, and I think it was because I didn't put any pressure on myself. I was just coming off a year with the team. I had so much fun training with them. Diablo had such great athletes, so I think it really prepped me for that year. So I guess that was a good start, and I guess that kept the ball rolling.
Wait, third at the games or fourth at the games?
Yeah, as an individual.
And who did you lose to, I guess, in the tiebreak?
Oh my gosh.
What year was it?
2013.
Was that Briggs's year when she won?
Yeah, I think so. It was like Briggs, Venezuela.
Wait.
No. Oh my gosh.
Vobril?
I was telling you, Vobril. Told you I have a bad memory. I like literally can't remember what I did yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vobril. It was just, we tied, and then I lost the tiebreaker. And I remember that year, like after, I was like, not, like it's hurts that much more when you miss the podium by that
close.
And now I look back and I was like, why was I angry about that? I did great. And I was like, not depressed, but I just like for days
Super
after
sad.
I was like, really sad. And now I look back and like, what are you talking about?
And good memories.
Yeah. Good memories. So yeah.
When you competed after that year, did you have any thoughts about going back to team, or you were like, all right, now I'm an individual because I'm one of the best in the world at this? Like, did it change? Did the expectations change after that individual year? Yeah,
I think so. I think like from then on out, I like wanted to be an individual, and it's like I found something new, and I was like, this is kind of cool. Like, just the thought of doing that, it was kind of exciting at the time, and that was CrossFit was still building. I mean, it's a lot bigger now, but at the time it's just new and exciting. So
you explain your background, rowing, which is an endurance sport. dancing, which I'd say, I mean, most actual choreographed events are like sub 2 minutes or sub 3 minutes most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like an artistic discipline, but you're super strong. Did you do any weight training back in the day, or did you just you were naturally good with the barbell? Like what was the transition to learning the physical skills of CrossFit?
I think it was a combination. Like in rowing, I definitely did strength training, but not the same that like for example, college rowing, when I look back, the weights that we did were like ridiculous. I remember them, like I back squatted 150 and I was like, that's so good.
I
back squatted way like more than everybody else. And I was like, yeah, I'm so good. And now like looking back, it's like, no, you should be able to back squat like more than twice your body weight. Like, so it's like, I can't even, so I had some weight training, but I think it's more, genetics. My, both sides of my family, like even to this day, both my grandmas are like ridiculously strong. They like carry couches up the stairs, and I'm just like, what the heck? Like
that's where I came from.
They just like grew up farmers, so I've always like genetically been pretty strong and explosive. So I gotta
get them on the podcast.
Oh my gosh, dude! Like
that'd be
their
fun.
Italian accent. I'm just like, oh my gosh, they're freaking beasts. Yeah.
Oh, that's another thing. So you're Italian, so you compete on for the Italian national championships when that was a thing for 2 years in the sport, but you were born in Canada. Yeah. And then you live in the US.
Yeah. So everyone always gets really confused. So this is the story. So I was born in Canada, but my parents, when they were very young, my mom was born in Italy. And when my dad was very young also, my grandparents immigrated to Canada for work. So like my parents still speak Italian. And so I feel like I was still raised with the Italian culture. Like both my grandparents are still, very Italian, so technically like I've never lived in there. So both my parents have citizenship and I got it through them. I got Italian citizenship. So I've feel more like I've grown up like a Canadian, but I've grown up with the Italian culture, the food, just, that ways of life. But, so I've, previously in 2013 and on, they didn't really let you choose your flag. They just kind of assigned it. So because, after college, I was in the US. So technically for my CrossFit career, I was in the US. So they always just automatically assigned me the US flag, but I've never had US citizenship. So I think people got confused and I had to tell them like, no, I'm still like, I'm not a US citizen, and now I lived there. Through CrossFit, I was able to get my green card. So now I'm just on my green card, but I'm only a citizen of Canada and Italy.
Got it.
And then, it wasn't, they didn't introduce the national champ until
2019.
2019.
Right? Yeah.
So they basically said, if you're dual, you have to pick one or the other. Cause I almost I wish they would have just it wasn't qualified through that. And I could just wear both flags. Cause I know for people living in Italy, there was some, of course the top who were upset at it, which is totally understandable, but from a professional standpoint, I was just, you got
to make the best decision within the rules. And I feel like the rules for CrossFit have changed so much that it kind of put you in a weird position that you're in the US, so you're going to compete in the Western regional. And then it's like, okay, well now instead of segmenting it based on where you live and where you work out in an affiliate, now it's based on your citizenship. And then this year it was kind of more complicated because I know we had this talk. It's you are an Italian citizen, so you can compete there. But with COVID, you might not be able to travel there and compete in the European one, or they might not have one. So it kind of is it's unfair of people to criticize for you to make a decision that makes sense for your career.
Exactly. Cause I've been doing this since 2012. And if I'm making this my career, then I'm always going to make, the best decision for myself. Yeah. And, this year, because of COVID, I'm planning it to be my last year. So my mindset was I want to compete in person. I don't want, and then just because of the travel restrictions, I want to be able to, compete close to where I'm living now. So it just didn't make sense. And that decision was made even before the European one went online. Yeah. So I had to choose Canada, or I decided to choose Canada this year so that I can compete locally and I can have a higher chance of competing live.
If it was all about just representing a country and it had nothing to do with taking a spot, what flag would you wear?
I guess that's that's so hard.
She's going to lose half her fan base now.
Because that's the thing. I think, like for Italians or anybody who are very patriotic. So they see it as like one or the other, but like so many people are dual citizenship. Like I can't just, like I wish I could say I'm like half and half because I'm very proud of my Italian heritage, and that's there's a lot of immigrants in Canada or even the US, and they may not have grown up or the language has been lost, but they're like very proud to like have that heritage and be like, my ancestors are, but like for people who live in Italy, understandably, they're so like, you're not Italian, I guess if I had, I guess I would have to say I've lived in Canada longer than I've never lived in Italy.
Take that maple leaf?
But I don't, that's what I'm like, I can't, I'm not pure Canadian. I'm like, I have Italian in me as well. So like, I can't.
I'm happy that you're Italian because maybe you can clear this up for me and Max. Is it Mario or Mario?
Oh, I hate you.
Oh my God, Mario. Yeah. Don't say Mario.
Well, see, that's what I was trying to tell him. I was like, we're playing Mario Kart. And I'm like, this man even tells you when you start the game. He says, it's a me, Mario.
Yeah.
He doesn't say, it's a me, Mario.
Yeah. It's like saying like pasta or like, it's like, no, it's pasta.
All right. Pasta. We settled it. We settled it for good.
All my Italian friends growing up were the most, proud of being from a specific place.
Yeah.
Like I had other friends that were German or Irish, and like a lot of them, like they didn't care that much. Like, oh yeah, I'm from here. Italians were like, we're Italian.
Oh, yeah. And what I realized too, it's like very different depending on what region in Italy. Like I talked to some of the top girls and they're like super supportive and they're like, yeah, we totally understand. But then, I've definitely gotten messages like, you're not Italian. Like you're, get
off our leaderboard.
Basically like it's just like big scandal. Like last year, like I got a lot of hate for that, but I'm just like, I'm proud of who I am. And I, I'm always going to do what's best for me and my family and my, and so.
Yeah, that was probably more so driven by jealousy, I'd say, than actual nationalistic beliefs, I'd guess.
Yeah.
So what made you, I am going to kind of lead you in this direction, but your husband, Akeem, who we just talked about earlier, was your coach. Was he your coach like right off the bat?
Yeah. So he's the one that kind of, I don't want to say pushed me more to start, but I was more hesitant to want to do it. And he just like started making training plans and spreadsheets. And, that's what he does. If you know him, is make spreadsheets. He's crazy about that. And then it's just like, it started from there. And I just like, I'm more used to from rowing, like having, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. Like I'm the workhorse and he's like the brain. He was always the thinker. Like, I just like go and like, he's make fun of me. He's like, you pick things up and put them down. And I tell you, I was like, oh, like, I swear I did good in school too. Like,
I have a brain.
Yeah, I have a brain too.
So that happened. You coached or with him as a coach for 8 years, right? And it was a very, very, very successful period of time on the podium as a team member, right off the podium as an individual. I think you had you finished 9th as well 1 year in the CrossFit Games. Were you in the top 10 more than the 4 and 9?
I think
One
I
more
had
time,
like
a 6 or something.
I think I had like 11, a 14, just like all over the place.
Super. I mean, I think in terms of just durability for competing in the sport for a long period of time, being close to that upper echelon, like you're one of the females in a very, very small group. So super successful career. And then your last season, you decide to make a switch. And I know we've talked about like, it's kind of like a co-coaching situation where he's involved for in-person stuff and he's helping me make decisions based on what he knows of you in training. But what kind of triggered that, hey, I need a change in this final season? Because I feel like that's I don't know, maybe a rare thing to be like, okay, now in this last season, I'm going to give it, I want to change in perspective. Yeah.
So I think there's a couple of reasons. So first of all, we've like always heard great things about you and nice. We were, like Akeem has always talked to you. And then I think just, going into the last season, I'm like, okay, if I'm going to do this, like, I want to do it right. Like, if I'm pushing, the boundaries on another year, like I want to do the best that I can. And I think, with COVID and everything, Akeem just got so slammed at work and he just like, he says he doesn't have the time to do, what coaches should do is like, look into the competition, the training, and put more effort into that. And he just like straight up told me, he's like, I don't think I can give you what you need to be your best this year. And he's like, I think, Max can do that, and like trust in him. And I was like, all right, if you feel that way, then I, totally agree.
So I got to thank him.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've always like, we talked about, we're like, okay, like if you were going to switch train, like which program, who do you, and I feel like you were the only one that I would be okay with that. I feel like the thought of like every other, I'm not going to say names, but
we can hate on them.
Yeah.
We can lose.
I just was like, I just don't, I was just like, I'd rather not do that. And then like the thought
damn, that's cold.
I mean, I don't know, maybe because,
I like
but like,
it,
just like from first instinct, I was like, I just don't think that's good for me.
Yeah.
It's like, I'd rather just be on my own then, so that was more the driving force. And then like, So
we started, I think, in November, and we had a pretty good structure. I feel like from a distance in terms of communication, we would have our group calls on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
You were on a run. Basically, we identified, hey, these are the things that I really want to work on. It's hard to coach somebody at your level who's already so well-rounded, who already knows everything that, they need to get better at the sport, and try to figure out, okay, let's try to keep all of this stuff progressing and then also just show up on game day as good as possible. So we put together the structure, and then you decided to move out here. I think it was the end of week 2 of the Open. What was that shift like? Because remote coaching, I feel like, is very similar to what you were doing before. And then you coming here, and now it's way different. Now you have all sorts of personalities, a lot of simulation competition style stuff, potentially more intensity in the actual training, just because it's like, now instead of you running your paces, you have somebody next to you running paces.
Yeah.
And if they pick it up, it's at least a thought like, should I go faster?
For sure.
So what's that transition been like?
Yeah. Well, before I say, you just made me think of back to the previous question of the switch. And I think, just having, new perspective, from you. And it's just like something different that I thought maybe that would be more beneficial for me, because we've always done things a certain way and you guys do it different. So we thought like this would be a good learning experience, and thought like maybe this would be better. And then also, for Akeem and I's marriage, I was like, maybe it'd be good the last year to transition into normal life of him not being my coach. Cause like, if you know him, he's very intense German, like
very
soccer
intense
mom, like yells at the screen. But anyway, so I just want to tell you that too. You just reminded me. But so the transition, so we found someone to sublease my apartment in California, and the thought of coming here is like a big life move for me.
Yeah.
And at first it was really scary. Like I remember so Akeem he left 5 days before me in the car with the dog, and I flew, and like as he's driving, I remember like being like, are you sure we should do this? Like, I don't know, like as I'm packing up things, and he's like, well, too late now, I'm on the road, And
We're going.
was like just the whole time was like just that, it was just like scary.
Yeah.
And then so when I got here, it was definitely like an adjustment, because it's like before all the other ladies came, I was the first girl here, so I'm like being kind of shy. Like I was like, okay, and I gotta like want to train with the guys, but
and
like
also big personality.
Yeah,
guys.
big personality.
Noah,
That first day was amazing to watch.
It was
Yeah.
not.
It was just
I was like, we got
quiet Sandra out there with loud Noah.
It was just it was really scary, because I just wanted to fit in, and I usually train with guys, and I like it, but it's like, it takes me a week to kind of open up and warm up, because at first I'm like very quiet and folded. So like the first day I was like, oh my God, what did I do? And then like, I
thought the same thing. I was like, we got to improve this process.
And I think like,
it was fun though.
Yeah, it was fun. But then, just like insecurities to be like, oh my God, what if they don't want me here? Like, like the guys
we
are
need
so
to convince
like,
you to keep competing.
So it was, so it was in my mind was to motivate myself, is that I was like, I want them to feel like I'm helping their training in some sense. And I was like, maybe like, I just have to wait. Hopefully there's like some workout that I can push them on, to feel like I'm the training partner, because
you did in the first week. There was a barbell segment.
You beat all of them. So that made me feel better. I'm like, okay,
I'm better than that.
I feel like I almost had to like build their trust. At first they're like, what is she doing here? And then like,
that was all in your head, by the way.
Yeah,
No, and Travis weren't thinking that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I have many like insecurities about that, like fitting in because I'm an introvert. So that was, very mentally challenging. And then, so I don't know. I only had a couple of days before the final open workout.
Yeah. You got here on, I think, Monday or Tuesday, and then the final open workout was on Friday, which was also a cluster of an experience.
I think it's just like, for me, new environment, and then I'm like always the person that wants to adhere to what everyone else. I'm like, I'll just go whenever and like, when I talk to like Emma, the mental coach, she's always like, you need to do what's best for you. But I was like, I just want to like, I'm always the person that like does everything for everyone, or like does, but so I tried to go with Travis and Noah, and then like, it's totally, I should just go when I'm ready. And that's what we learned later is like, everyone has like a different process. So Travis is more like me that just like gets, gets
take
warmed
a time
up fast.
and I'm ready to go at that
time. It's like
time.
you said, 3:30, we're going at 3, and then like Noah's on the opposite, which like he needs to do what he needs to do. And I totally support that. But it's just like funny because at the time, and then Travis just like, he's like, I'm just going. And like, I didn't hear him. I was like, I should have gone with him. And he just started. And then Noah has like 15 different cameras, like setting them up. Like, and I was like, and I'm just like, like
sitting and
just
waiting.
have my little GoPro, and I was like, okay, guys, like, I just felt it made me feel like such a loser, I was like, oh, I guess I didn't make it. I don't have that many like cameras and live streams and stuff. So then, he took a little long. And then like, I think when I started, it was just a combination of being like super anxious in new environment, and then like not kind of starting when I would have started, and then I just completely bonked at for like, I was like, I remember looking up at you and being like, something's wrong with me.
That experience, I feel like in the moment, I was like, I was so upset just about how the whole thing played out, but I was actually super grateful. Like when we got our process dialed in and you came in on Monday and executed on the workout way better, crushed it. That set the tone for us leading into quarterfinals. And I feel like we had our process dialed in.
Yeah. It's almost like it was good that it happened earlier.
Yeah. And, you finished 14th in the world. Did it shift at all?
Oh yeah, it shifted. So 13. Not 13. That matters.
Yes,
in my mind, I was like, yes, 13. Like,
give me another spot.
Exactly. I always get excited. I was like,
yeah. So I mean, that's super impressive. And I didn't realize that this year you also shifted into being a masters athlete, which is awesome and inspires me to be better, but also makes me feel better because I shifted into masters and I'm getting less fit by the day.
I think at first I denied it. They're like, you're like, you want to do the qualifiers? I was like, what?
No.
I haven't accepted that I'm doing.
You shifted into masters?
Well, because like technically my birthday's in May, so when the games would happen, I would be masters.
So would I be a master this year?
No.
Should I go re-enter my scores?
When's your birthday?
Well, it was last week.
You just turned 34.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm turning 35. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man, you're old as hell.
I already
and
feel
fit.
But so it's just trying to keep up with those young bucks.
You are. You won the workout today.
Let me feel better after yesterday. I'm dying.
So the training environment shifted. Now we're kind of doing semifinal prep, a lot more in-person stuff. Lauren's here, Bryn, Alexis. So there's an environment of competitive females as well as competitive males, and setting that up it's been a lot. Like there's just a lot that goes into trying to figure out, okay, here's the team structure, here's individual, here's how I'll manage communication in the event somebody needs to back off. How have you liked that constant level of pressure and intensity versus like your own structure being on your own and doing that?
So first off, I'm like super excited that we attracted more ladies. I'm sure they had, other reasons, but I'd like to think that they came because I paved the way for the ladies to feel comfortable.
Thank you. You gave them belief.
Because like it is intimidating. Like if there's no girls and then you just see like a bunch of guys and then you're like, I don't know if that's good for me. So, so like you said, you were joking, said that you threw me in the lion's den, and then I hope that made all the other ladies feel comfortable to come. But I'm really grateful that I could train with them because it does make a difference. I've been doing, been on my own so long, and it's like, sometimes you can get work done on your own, and I've done the best that I can, but then eventually when you need that extra motivation, like just having those girls to push you, it's going to make you better. I think I've always said that, when when I was on a team, having them to train with always like made me better. Cause I'm just not like an individual I just
need some connection.
Yeah. Almost like, I don't want to say sandbag, but when I'm by myself, you get kind of complacent and comfortable with, and you're like, oh, that was good. Yeah.
Good enough.
Yeah. Like, I'm feeling tired today. Like, so, but like, when the other ladies are there, you're like, dang, like I gotta but at the same time, like after 2 weeks, like, I'm dead. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. It's just old lady can hold on.
Yeah. Well, you've been doing great, and I feel like we'll make sure you're peaked at the right time. However that plays out. And if the Masters qualifier is coming up next week, that'll change training for that week. And so it'll be an interesting process. Mm-hmm. What would be, if you could write the end of the story? So we're getting close to, this is, your last season as a competitor. What would you feel like, okay, you walked away and that was the most successful year ever? Is it all performance based, or is it also part of the experience and the connections? And like, what, as a 35-year-old, I feel like your perspective is different than somebody who's like, Mal's 16 or 17, and you can tell like it's just her life is almost CrossFit, and she's training just basically from wake up till bed. She's just working out. Yeah. That's different as you start to get older. It doesn't mean you can't compete with it. You just have to kind of compete differently and think differently. Yeah. What would success look like in this final year for you?
I think like it's somewhat performance based, because I've always kind of hovered around the, top 10, top 15. Yeah. And like, I've always every year think, after like I feel like I have it in me, but I'm just like missing this one puzzle piece. Yeah. And like, I keep having the same thought every year. So I would love to kind of break through into that top 10. And that for me, like being in that final heat has always like been the most motivating thing. Like I just really enjoy competing at the top. And so I think for me, like the thought, and because like I was telling you, I'm like, if this is going to be my last year, and because I thought last year was going to be my last year, I'm like, I better make it worth it. And like, it's going to be hard, but so in my mind, I want to do that, but it's not, it's, if I don't, I feel like as right now, like I'm training harder than I ever have. So like, even, and new girls are continually coming in. So I can't, it's just, you just don't know what to expect. Like, but like, I just want to finish feeling like, wow, like I finished at my like peak, my best. Yeah. And, maybe that mean, even if I just get that one event win or something, like I've never been about, I think I'm a little different than most people who are just like, like to me, he's just like, I want to win, dominate. Yeah. Like for me, I just like competing, and like, so it like Akeem would always be like, you're weird. You like things just, you don't motivate like other people. Yeah. And I just, for me, I just enjoy competing and being like among strong women who are,
pushing themselves.
And it's like, that's when I feel my best. Like when the thought of, if someone was like, go win. I'm just like, not as like motive, but it, if I almost like visualize like being a warrior, like kind of just.
Oh yeah. Before we started, I asked you what you watched growing up, and she said Xena Warrior Princess.
Yeah. So that, like when I look back,
the original strong woman.
I always like loved like strong women and just like inspiring stories, underdog stories. My dad, he'd always read to me or tell me about stories of like the underdog. And I thought like that was like the biggest thrill for me, is like, so I feel like even out throughout all these years, like I've kind of been a dark horse. Everyone always, during like open season, like I'm never, on top, and then I make my comeback at the games. And I've always liked that. Like, I don't like a lot of like pressure, there's some girl, they're constantly on the media, and it's almost like it's work. I don't know. I don't like it. I just, so I've always liked being kind of like the underdog and people like don't expect me to do certain things, and like that's the biggest thrill. Or like if someone, they're like, wow, you did really good like at running or something like that, because like usually they wouldn't expect me because like I'm a bigger girl, and they're like, like I love, or like it's just like things like that motivate me.
So should we get you a sword and a shield to go to your semifinal? You run out onto the floor with it, take it off, and go out and do thrusters.
Yes. I was telling him that was like when growing up, my sister and we lived in this like Victorian house we thought was haunted, and we like religiously, like when it was on, we go into the scary basement to watch Xena, and we feel like that's going.
We're fighting the ghost.
As soon as it was over, we'd be like like run upstairs and just like, don't leave me behind, but like but that was it's just like I just love that kind of thing, and like being around inspiring women or women who have overcome things. It's like, it's not always like the number one or the best settings, but it's more like when I hear stories of people who have like overcome obstacles, or you're like, wow, or like they're a mom and they have a single mom, they have like all these things to deal with, but then they still like are badass in whatever way. Like that's the kind of thing like that motivates me, or that I like to hear about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you started the sport, did you have a female athlete that you kind of looked up to? When you were first getting into it, did you even pay attention to the athletes that much?
Not really athletes. It was more just like I was telling you random stories. And before I came to California, I wanted to be a pilot. Like my dad, I wanted to be in the Canadian Air Force, and I did like air cadets and everything like that. And I just I'd always read stories about like, females first females and overcoming like a male dominated career. And so that was more like my motivation. Like I just kind of read about
to let the females down.
Yeah, I know.
Rowing.
I got into aviation school in Canada.
That's
and
awesome.
Then that was the year. And then my mom, of course, talked me out of it. She's like, you're gonna have to be like, because she, the life of a pilot is, my dad would always say, not as glamorous as it's seen. You're always, especially if you want a family, and
you're
always traveling.
A lot.
He's like, especially in Canada, he's like, you're gonna have to be like a
still
bush
fly?
pilot for a while. He just retired
From Canadian Air Force still, or
no? He did like a bunch of different things. He started off as an aircraft mechanic, and then he did like firefighting. He worked for like an airline. He worked for like overseas, flying like private clients, like so just kind of
all sorts of
stuff. So he growing up, like we had to kind of go to wherever he was, or like he'd be gone a lot. So like my mom kind of talked me out of it, and that was the year that I tried to push for the rowing scholarship. And then she was like, do you want to go to California, or do you want to go to the middle of nowhere in Canada? Like,
I'm going to California.
Yeah, I was like, okay, because I would have been in like this like northern Canada, literally like landing on snow and ice, and like
she might have given you some good advice.
Yeah, I think so.
And we'll never know. What if she was going to be the like most badass?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true. You could have been
person who'd be good at whatever you did.
I saw a story of a female fighter pilot posted that does CrossFit and how CrossFit changed her life. And I was like, I followed her on Instagram. I was like, oh, she's so cool. And like, I feel like I just like lived through, I'm like, what if I did that? But no, I'm happy with like what I did, and, the path that I follow. Everything happens for a reason.
My dad was a fighter pilot, and I can't even imagine doing that. Like, did he, was your dad a fighter pilot?
No, he just, he didn't start as that. He was started as, with aircraft mechanic.
But that's what you wanted to do?
I just like, because the idea of like being badass, like those women, like show those boys what's up. Like, it was more.
You came to the environment like that? Like, I gotta show these guys.
At first, then I got here, I was like,
in your imagination,
in my
imagination. Like, and then you show up and you're like,
yeah, exactly.
Last question. You said you have a bad memory.
I have the worst memory. Like, you always laugh, but I'm like, I can
attest to the fact that you're in mid-workout forgetting the workout.
Oh my God. It's like embarrassing.
I don't know how people ever remember them.
I have multiple years at the games. I've like screwed up things because I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I am. Or like,
I might have to get you like a wristband or something and write the workout. So that way you could always just like, oh yeah, thrusters.
I'm legitimately concerned I have memory issues. Like I'm not
same.
Yeah.
So back to the question. Do you have an all-time favorite games moment?
Yeah, like I think the leg list, obviously, if I won the leg list, but it was more just like the environment. I remember going into like the Legos events thinking like, I'm the biggest girl here. Like there's a lot of girls who are much lighter than me, gymnasts. Like, so I kind of went into it just more relaxed and being like, I'm just going to do what I can. And that was the time where they had just introduced, like, no one had ever done
Well,
a
yeah,
legless workout.
The thruster.
Yeah.
And then
Thruster, legless.
What year?
2013. Yeah. So just
they only did rope climbs back in the day.
Yeah, they only did
legs.
rope climbs. And I still remember them they were like, and legless. And I was like, oh my God, I've never done a legless. You know, like now everyone trains it, practices, but I was like, we had never done a single legless. And so I kind of just was like, okay. Like I was
just
gonna
try it out.
Yeah. So I remember like doing it almost like felt like fun. And I was like, oh yeah, I feel good at that. And I like, that was when I do like my big kip. And, so like I was like behind in the beginning, but I was like, I feel really good. And I just like kept jumping back up to the rope. And then eventually by the end, I like inch forward. And I was like, I still feel good. And like, I remember that was when they let you like drop from really high from the rope and I like dropped down. And I felt like I landed in like, you know, like a superhero like stance. Like that's what I felt like. I was like, yeah. And like, but that was my parents were watching. My cousin was there. So they were like all like yelling like, yeah. And then I remember my mom being like, every time I fell, she was like, oh my God. Like,
and meanwhile, in your head, you're like, yes.
Yeah. I was like, I'm so badass, you know? And then, so like, just when I finished, like I could see like my parents were so excited and just like my cut and like all of Diablo was there and they were like, yeah. So I just like, that's why like stuck in my memory, just like kind of how I felt through it. And that actually felt like fun. And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
That's all I got. Well, I am super appreciative that you were the pave setter for females, individual competitive females coming on site. So
yeah, like I said, I'd like to think that I'm just telling myself, you know, I create these stories in my head to try to get me through life.
Hey, I'll roll with it.
Yeah.
I also think, I think just the learning process of watching veteran athletes and how you approach and your professionalism has just been cool to watch. And I think a lot of the athletes on site, they have individual coaches or they have somebody that's guiding them. But I think the real value is in the growth of the culture, because the culture and being around other great people makes you better. So I'm super happy that you're here and appreciative that you did this with us.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, no, I'm excited. And like I was saying, because I'm retiring, I think another thing that motivates me is that I hope I can kind of pass my legacy on. And it feels like retiring feels like you're like dying or something. And you're like, go on without me. Like, like I'm like teaching them my ways. And then I'm like, just keep
Good
going.
luck.
Yeah.
You can do it.
It's my time.
Oh, that's great. That's a great way to end.
That is the best way to end.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Well, you got another training session.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, man. Hanging in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.